Here on our channel, stories of people from different eras, different professions, different destinies quietly come to life. And before we fully sink into their world, you may subscribe, and later, if you wish, share your impressions in the comments. And now, we continue. Venice in winter is not the Venice that calls to travelers in spring. It is a city wrapped in damp fog, where the cold seeps through palace stone and wooden shutters alike. January of 1788 is especially harsh. In the mornings, the canals draw over with a thin skin of ice. Gondoliers wrap themselves in warm cloaks, and the wind from the lagoon cuts the face like a fine blade. Matteo Venturi wakes, as always, from the cold. His workshop in the Cannaregio quarter sits on the third floor of an old house, where dampness rises from below and drafts wander freely from above. The stove's small, tin, eternally temperamental demands firewood, of which only a few days' supply remains. Matteo pulls on another shirt, old with patched elbows, and rises from the narrow bed. The workshop is his home, his world, his prison. Easels stand along the walls. On the shelves crowd bottles of pigments, solvents, oils. The scent of turpentine has soaked so deeply into the wood that it no longer fades. In the corner hang his own paintings, lagoon landscapes, portraits of imagined people, still lifes with fruit and flowers. All of them good, all of them unwanted. Matteo goes to the window and throws open the shutters. Fog, always fog. Below, on the narrow street, a fish seller drags a basket toward the market. Somewhere in the distance, the bells of San Marcola strike 7 times. The working day begins. On the table lies a piece of yesterday's bread and a little cheese. Breakfast. Matteo chews slowly, studying the icon he has been working on for the past 2 weeks. A commission from a modest church in Mestre. St. Anthony, darkened by time and candle soot. The work is simple, but painstaking. He must remove layers of grime, consolidate the paint, restore lost details. They pay little, but they pay. Enough for rent, firewood, pigments. For life. For life, Matteo thinks with a bitter half-smile. He dreams of painting, not restoring. Dreams of his works hanging in aristocratic palazzi, of his name spoken alongside Titian or Tintoretto. But reality is simpler and harsher. Venice overflows with painters, talented, mediocre, untalented alike. All seek buyers. And buyers prefer old masters. Matteo returns to the icon. He takes a thin brush, dips it in solvent, carefully begins to remove the soot from the saint's halo. The work demands concentration and patience. The hand must not tremble. The eye must see every millimeter. It feels like a conversation with the past. The painter who created the icon a century ago left his trace. Matteo senses it across time in the brushstrokes, in the choice of color, in the way shadows are laid. By noon, he finishes the halo and decides to go out. He needs new brushes, and perhaps, to try selling one of his own paintings. He chooses a small landscape. A view of the lagoon at sunset, golden light on the water, the silhouette of a gondola. The painting is good. He knows this, but do others know? The merchant at Rialto barely looks. Another lagoon, Signor Venturi. I have dozens. People want something special. Matteo tightens his jaw, nods, leaves. Something special, but he paints the soul. He paints what he sees, what he feels. Is that not enough? When he returns to the workshop, he finds a note on the threshold, slipped under the door. Matteo unfolds the paper. The handwriting is old-fashioned, neat. Signor Venturi, I ask that you receive me today at the 4th hour afternoon. I have a commission that may interest you. Lorenzo Cantarini. Cantarini, Matteo knows the name. An ancient aristocratic family, one of those who ruled Venice for centuries. Palaces, connections, wealth. What could such a man need from a poor restorer? The bells strike 4 when there is a knock at the door. Matteo opens it and sees an elderly man in a dark cloak, a cane in his hand. His face is carved with wrinkles, his eyes intelligent, tired. Behind him stands a servant, holding something large, wrapped in cloth. Signor Venturi. The voice is quiet but firm. May I come in? Matteo steps aside. Cantarini surveys the workshop with the gaze of someone accustomed to judging. His eyes linger on Matteo's paintings in the corner. You paint well yourself. That means you understand not only technique, but intention. The servant carries the bundle inside and sets it against the wall. Cantarini nods to him, and the man leaves, closing the door softly behind him. I have brought a portrait, the old man says, a family one. It hung in our palazzo for almost 100 years, but for the last 50, it has been kept in the cellar. No one wished to look at it. Matteo helps remove the cloth. Beneath it stands a large painting in a heavy gilded frame, a full-length portrait of a woman, a 15th century dress, rich, adorned with lace. But where the face should be, there yawns a black blot ruff, careless. Someone has taken a brush and covered the face with a dense layer of black paint, without concern for appearance. Who did this? Matteo asks, unable to tear his gaze away. Cantarini leans on his cane. My great-great-grandfather or his brother? It is no longer certain. It happened in 1689. The woman's name was Isabella Cantarini. She was the wife of one of my ancestors. The family considered her a traitor. They said she ran away with a lover, disgraced the family, revealed secrets. Her name was struck from all records. The portrait was defaced so her face would not be seen. Matteo steps closer. Even beneath the black paint, the master's hand is evident. The folds of the dress, the curve of the neck, the turn of the body, everything is executed with virtuosity. Who is the artist? I do not know. Perhaps one of Tupolo's pupils, but that is only a guess. What matters is something else, Signor Venturi. I am the last of the Cantarini line. I have no children, no heirs. Soon I will be gone, and everything that remains of the family will pass into strangers' hands or be sold. He pauses, then continues more quietly. I want to know the truth about Isabella. I want to see her face. I want to understand whether she was truly what they claimed. Silence settles. Matteo walks around the portrait, studying it from all sides. The frame is massive, carved with scrolls and clusters of grapes. Heavy, expensive. This will not be easy. The black paint is oil-based, thick. It has bitten into the lower layers. The process will take weeks, perhaps months. There is no guarantee the face has survived. I understand, Cantarini nods. But you will try, and I will pay. He names the sum. 50 zecchini now, 50 upon completion. 50 zecchini. More than Matteo earns in half a year. Firewood for the entire winter. New pigments. Rent paid a year ahead. The chance for once not to think about money. I will take it, Matteo says. Cantarini produces a purse and counts out the coins. The gold lands heavily on the table. I will come once a week to see the progress. If you need anything materials, tools, tell me. I will pay for all of it. He turns toward the door, then stops on the threshold. One warning, Signor Venturi. In our family, it is believed this portrait is cursed, that Isabella brought misfortune upon us. I do not believe in curses, but if you are superstitious. Matteo smiles faintly. I believe in paint and brushes, Signor Cantarini. The rest are stories for children. The old man nods and leaves. Matteo closes the door and leans against it. 50 zecchini. A portrait. A century-old mystery. He approaches the painting, runs his fingers along the frame. The wood is old, dry, cracked in places. The gilding flakes away. And yet, the work is magnificent. Matteo lights all the candles in the workshop and stands again before the portrait. The evening light falls across the canvas at an angle, revealing the texture of the paint. The black layer is uneven. One can see how the brush rushed, how the hand trembled with anger or grief. Whoever erased Isabella's face did so in a storm of feeling. And beneath that layer, beneath that darkness, what lies there? The face of a woman called a traitor, a face unseen for 100 years. Matteo takes a magnifying glass and leans closer. In the candlelight, he notices something strange. Along the edges of the black blot, where the paint lies thinner, faint lines emerge, not random, too precise, as if someone drew them deliberately before covering the face. He steps back, frowning. Perhaps a trick of the light, or tired eyes. No, the lines are there, thin, barely visible, but real. Matteo sits on a stool, his gaze fixed on the portrait. Isabella Cantarini. 100 years ago, her life ended in disgrace and oblivion, her face erased from family memory. And now he, a poor, unknown restorer, will return her to the world. Outside, dusk thickens. The fog grows denser. Somewhere below, a door slams. Someone laughs. Life continues. And Matteo sits in the cold workshop before the portrait of a woman who may not have been who they claimed she was. He rises, goes to the stove, and adds more wood. The fire crackles softly, and the room grows just a little warmer. As the past begins to stir beneath layers of paint, preparing to speak in the quiet chapters that follow. The fire catches properly now, and warmth slowly fills the room. Matteo returns to the table, picks up one of the coins, and turns it between his fingers. The gold is real, heavy, unquestionable. "What are you hiding, Isabella?" He asks softly, his eyes resting on the blackened void where a face should be. The portrait remains silent, but Matteo knows soon it will speak. 3 days have passed since Lorenzo Cantarini left the portrait in Matteo's workshop. 3 days filled with careful, almost surgical work. Matteo begins by strengthening the canvas. Time has made it fragile, and any careless movement could cause cracks. He works from the reverse side, saturating the fabric with a special compound he prepares himself. Linseed oil, mastic, a little wax. The scent is thick, warm, and faintly sweet, filling the room with the quiet presence of old craft. The morning of the 4th day begins with an unexpected realization. The paints are gone. Not the restoration solvents. Those are sufficient, but the ordinary pigments for his own work. He discovers this when he tries to continue a still life he began the day before. A small piece, painted only for himself, a way to release the tension that has settled in his shoulders. He needs umber, burnt carmine, ultramarine. He will have to go to Bernardo. Bernardo, the color grinder, keeps his shop in the San Polo district, near the market. The path leads across the Rialto Bridge, and Matteo does not hurry. Venice in February is quieter than usual. The wealthy have gone to the mainland. There are no tourists. Only those who have always lived here remain. Gondoliers doze by the moorings. Merchants call to customers in half voices, conserving their strength. The cold has not retreated, but the fog has thinned, and a pale winter sun rests above the canals. Matteo walks, studying the facades of palaces, the bridges, the reflections in the water. He always does this. He looks at the city through a painter's eyes, memorizing lines, colors, the balance of light and shadow. Venice is his muse, cruel and beautiful. She gives inspiration. She does not give bread. Bernardo's shop smells of minerals, resins, and something sharp and biting. Behind the counter stands the owner himself, short, stout, hands eternally stained with pigment. When he sees Matteo, he breaks into a smile. "Ah, Signor Venturi, long time no see. You've abandoned us completely. Work, Bernardo." A large commission. Matteo names the pigments he needs, while Bernardo gathers them, measuring powders, grinding pigments with oil. A woman enters the shop. Matteo turns. and freezes. She is about his age, perhaps a little younger. Dark hair tucked beneath a simple cap. A slender face with intelligent gray eyes. Dressed modestly, but well. Not an aristocrat, yet not a common laborer either. She approaches the counter without noticing Matteo and speaks to Bernardo. "I need lampblack, the finest quality for engravings. For your print shop, Julia, only the best," Bernardo fusses. "I'll bring it at once." A print shop. Matteo knows that in Venice there are few women who own printing houses. Usually widows who have inherited their husbands' businesses. Rare, but not impossible. He catches himself watching her hands. Thin fingers stained with ink. Working hands. She feels his gaze and turns. Their eyes meet. Matteo flushes and looks away, but she smiles, lightly, without coquetry. "You're a painter?" "Judging by what you're ordering, a professional. A restorer," Matteo corrects gently. "Though I paint as well, when time allows." He does not know why he adds this. He usually keeps his disappointments to himself. "A restorer," she repeats thoughtfully. "A noble craft. Returning beauty that time tries to steal." There is no irony in her voice. Only genuine interest. Bernardo returns with their orders. Matteo pays and takes the bundle of paints. Julia does the same. They step out of the shop together, and at the threshold she turns to him again. "Forgive my boldness," she says calmly, "but you look as if you haven't eaten in days. Would you like to stop at an osteria?" "My treat. Consider it thanks for what you do saving old paintings." Matteo wants to refuse. Pride tells him he should not accept charity. But something in her gaze, in the simplicity of the offer, stops him. "All right," he says, "but only if you allow me to return the favor someday." They enter a small osteria near the bridge, where hot bean soup and fresh bread are served. Over the meal, conversation unfolds naturally. Julia tells him she was widowed 2 years ago. Her husband was 20 years older, a printer. He married her when she was 24. They had no children. When he died, many expected her to sell the print shop and fade into the background. But Julia stayed. She learned the craft. She took the business into her own hands, printing books, pamphlets, engravings. "People think it isn't women's work," she says, breaking bread, "but I love it. Every page is a small creation. Words turned into something tangible. Isn't that like painting?" Matteo nods. He likes the way she speaks, without affectation, direct, honest. "The painter creates an image from nothing," he says slowly, "and the printer gives voice to other people's thoughts." "And the restorer?" she asks. "What does a restorer do?" Matteo considers this. He returns the past, or tries to. "Sometimes I feel like a mediator between times. The artist who painted a work 100 years ago left part of himself in it. I try to preserve that part, to keep it from disappearing." Julia looks at him closely. "Then you save souls?" They both laugh, softly, but there is truth in her words. Matteo tells her about Isabella's portrait, not the details, but the essence. The painted over face, the family curse, the attempt to restore the truth. Julia listens without interrupting. When he finishes, she nods slowly. "A strange story," she says, "and a little frightening. As if the past does not want to release its secrets." "Perhaps," Matteo agrees quietly, "but I must try." They part near the osteria. Julia heads toward her print shop. Matteo returns to his workshop. The entire way back, he thinks of her, of how easy it was to speak, of how there was no need to pretend, of how long it has been since he felt such simple human closeness. Back in the workshop, Matteo goes straight to the portrait. The work is waiting. He begins carefully removing the upper layer of black paint. The technique is simple in theory, but demands absolute precision. A cotton swab moistened with solvent. Light circular motions. The paint softens, lifts away in microscopic layers. Too much pressure, and what lies beneath is damaged. Too little, and the work stretches on for years. Matteo works by candlelight, leaning so close that he sees every crack, every unevenness. Time dissolves. Only his hand, the swab, and the canvas exist. This is the state he loves most. Complete immersion. The world narrowing to a single point. After several hours, when his fingers begin to numb with strain, he steps back and looks. Part of the black paint is gone, and beneath it something appears. Matteo brings the candle closer, and his heart skips. Lines, the same lines he noticed on the first evening. They are not random strokes, not defects. They are symbols, deliberately applied with a fine brush, precise and careful. Circles intersecting with straight lines, curving shapes. They trace the contour of where a face should be. Matteo straightens, runs a hand over his face. What is this? Why would someone draw symbols before painting over the portrait? If the goal was to erase Isabella's image, why take the time for strange markings? He takes a magnifying glass and examines them closely. Some resemble letters, but not quite. Others look like geometric figures. Matteo is not a scholar, but he knows a little. In the past centuries, earlier people believed in the power of signs. Alchemists, astrologers, Kabbalists, they all used symbols to record hidden knowledge. Could this be a cipher? Matteo goes to the window and throws it open. Cold air strikes his face, clearing his thoughts. Below, someone sings a drunken gondolier on his way home. The familiar sounds of the city soothe him. A cipher. If it is a cipher, it must mean something. Point to something, or conceal something. But what? And who left it? The one who defaced the portrait, or someone else entirely? Matteo returns to the table, takes a clean sheet of paper, and begins copying the symbols, slowly, carefully, transferring each line with care. The work takes another hour. When he finishes, a drawing lies before him, mysterious, incomprehensible, but clearly intentional. He leans back. Fatigue crashes over him all at once. His eyes burn. His thoughts whirl. Isabella Cantarini. A woman branded a traitor. A portrait defaced in anger. Symbols hidden beneath black paint. What were you trying to say? Matteo whispers into the quiet workshop. He extinguishes the candles, leaving only one by the bed. Lies down without undressing. Pulls the blanket to his chin. Outside, the February night settles. Somewhere in the distance, a bell strikes 12 times. Midnight. Matteo closes his eyes and unexpectedly thinks of Julia. Her smile. Her ink-stained hands. Her words, "You save souls." Perhaps it is true. Perhaps he really is saving Isabella's soul buried alive beneath black paint. Sleep comes heavy, but without nightmares. And in the morning, when he wakes, the first thought is clear and urgent. He must find someone who understands symbols. He must learn what they mean. And another thought follows, unexpected and warm. It would be good to see Julia again. And with that quiet hope resting in his mind, the story gently prepares to unfold its next hidden layer. The Church of Santa Maria dei Miracoli stands in a quiet corner of Cannaregio, like a precious jewel box accidentally forgotten among ordinary houses. Its marble facade, inlaid with colored stones, seems to glow even on a gray, overcast day. Matteo has passed by many times before, yet rarely stepped inside, not from a lack of faith, but because his relationship with God feels personal, intimate, and never in need of intermediaries. But now, he needs exactly that, an intermediary. Padre Benedetto, the old priest of this church, is known as a learned man. People say that in his youth he studied in Padua, delving not only into theology, but also philosophy, ancient languages, even astronomy, a common curiosity among Renaissance scholars who still believe the heavens and the human soul were deeply connected. Then something happened. No one knows exactly what. He returned to Venice, took holy orders, settled in this small church, conducted services, heard confessions, and in his spare time patiently sorted through the church archives, restoring order to centuries of fragile records. Matteo pushes open the heavy door. Inside, it is quiet and cool, the air thick with the gentle scent of incense. Candles flicker softly before the icons. Near the altar, an elderly woman whispers a prayer. No one else is there. Padre Benedetta, Matteo calls softly. From a side door leading to the sacristy, the priest appears tall, slightly hunched, with a gray beard and kind eyes behind rounded spectacles. He wears a simple cassock, mended in several places. Signor Venturi, what a surprise. The padre smiles warmly. What brings you here? Not confession, I hope. You always avoid formalities. Matteo is not surprised that the priest remembers his name. Venice may be a great city, but each district lives like a village. Everyone knows one another. I have a question, Padre. An unusual one. I need your knowledge, not spiritual guidance. Benedetta hums thoughtfully. Interesting. Come to the archive. It's quieter there. They pass through the sacristy into a small room lined with shelves of books and scrolls. The air smells of old paper and dust, an unmistakable scent of time itself. Near the window stands a table covered with manuscripts. The priest gestures to a chair and sits opposite. Matteo takes out the sheet with the copied symbols and lays it on the table. I found this beneath a layer of paint on an old portrait. I can't understand what it means. It looks like a cipher, or signs. Benedetta puts on his glasses, moves the sheet closer to the candle, and studies each line in silence for a long time. Then he lets out a soft whistle. Where did you say you found this? On a portrait I'm restoring, late 15th century. A woman's face was painted over, and these symbols were beneath. The priest slowly shakes his head. A complicated story, no doubt. Some of these signs, I recognize them. This circle with a cross inside is an alchemical symbol. It signifies the union of opposites matter and spirit, earth and heaven. And these intersecting lines at an angle, they resemble proto-Masonic symbols, though organized Freemasonry would come later. Or, he pauses, thoughtful. Or, Matteo gently prompts. Or this could be connected to the Inquisition. In those days, people accused of heresy often left encrypted messages. They feared open writing. These symbols may be markers' keys to something hidden. A chill runs down Matteo's spine. The Inquisition. Do you think the woman in the portrait was a heretic? Not necessarily she herself, Benedetta replies softly, but someone connected to her. Do you know her name? Isabella Cantarini. She was considered a traitor. They said she fled, disgracing her family. The priest removes his glasses and wipes them with the edge of his cassock. Cantarini, a noble family. I can search the archives. The Inquisition kept meticulous records. If she or anyone close to her came under suspicion, it should be documented. You'll help me? Of course. It's an intriguing puzzle. And if a woman was slandered, justice demands the truth be restored. The padre rises and walks along the shelves. Give me a few days. I'll see what I can find. You continue working on the portrait. Perhaps beneath the symbols, there is more. Matteo thanks him and steps back outside. The air feels warmer now. The wind has shifted, blowing from the mainland, carrying with it the faint scent of snow. A storm is coming, he thinks. I should stock up on firewood. But first, he decides to visit Julia. The thought arrives suddenly, yet once formed, it feels natural. He wants to tell her about the discovery, hear her thoughts, or perhaps he simply wants to see her again. Julia's print shop is not far from the Rialto market, in a 2-story building with peeling plaster. The workshop is below, the living quarters above. Matteo knocks. Footsteps sound inside. The door opens. Julia stands there in a work apron, her hair slightly disheveled, a smudge of ink on her cheek. When she sees Matteo, she smiles. Well, that's unexpected. Come in. Forgive the mess, I'm printing an order today. Inside, the air smells of ink and paper. A large printing press stands against the wall. Tables are stacked with sheets, trays filled with metal type. Julia removes her apron and wipes her hands. Tea or something stronger? I have a decent wine. Tea, Matteo says. Thank you. They go upstairs to a small, cozy room. The fireplace is lit, warmth filling the space. Julia sets the kettle on the fire and takes out cups. So what brings you here? Or were you just passing by? Matteo tells her about the symbols, the visit to Padre Benedetta, the possibility that the portrait is connected to the Inquisition. Julia listens, resting her chin on her hand. When he finishes, she nods slowly. So it's not just a family disgrace. It's something more serious. If the Inquisition was involved, it could have cost lives. Exactly, Matteo agrees. But I don't understand why someone would leave symbols if the goal was to hide the truth. Why leave keys? Or perhaps, Julia says thoughtfully, someone wanted to preserve the truth but couldn't do so openly. They hid the message where only those who truly search would find it. Matteo looks at her in surprise. You're right. I didn't think of that. Julia smiles. I work with texts. Do you know how many books pass through my press with hidden messages? Authors fear censorship. They embed meanings acrostics, anagrams, double meanings. The past isn't so different from the present. They drink tea and talk. Matteo speaks about his life, his training under an old master, his dreams of fame, and how reality turned out more modest. Julia talks about her marriage calm, respectful, but without passion. Her husband was kind, but old. When he died, she felt not grief, but relief and shame for feeling it. Don't be ashamed, Matteo says quietly. Honesty with oneself is rare. Their eyes meet. A silence settles, not awkward, but full, carrying something unspoken. Matteo feels the urge to lean closer, to kiss her, but he doesn't. It's too soon, too fragile, whatever is forming between them. Julia looks away first. Will you show me the portrait? I'm curious to see it. Of course. Come tomorrow evening. I plan to continue removing the paint. I might find more. She walks him to the door. As they part, she lightly touches his hand almost imperceptibly. Yet Matteo feels the touch through his entire body. Back in his workshop, he goes straight to the portrait. He works deep into the night, removing layer after layer of black paint. The symbols emerge more clearly. He sketches each one, creating a map. Gradually, a pattern becomes visible, not chaotic, but structured. A circle at the center, rays extending outward, each ending in a different symbol. A diagram, Matteo whispers. A guide. He steps back, circles the portrait. The diagram could point to something within the painting. Or his gaze falls on the frame. Massive, carved, filled with decorative details. What if? He lifts a candle and examines the frame closely. Every curl, every carved grape cluster. And then, in the lower left corner, he notices something odd. One carving is slightly deeper than the rest, not just decoration, but a recess. His heart begins to race. He takes a thin stick and presses. Nothing. He twists gently. The carving shifts, turns with a soft click. A small wooden panel falls from the frame, no larger than his palm. Behind it, a hidden compartment. Inside, a bundle. Yellowed paper, tied with a faded ribbon. Matteo carefully takes it out and places it on the table. His hands tremble. He unties the ribbon and unfolds the paper. A letter. The ink has faded. Some words are barely legible, but the main text remains. My dear ones, if you are reading this, then the truth has finally found its way. Matteo reads, and with every line, the world around him begins to change. He does not sleep that night. The letter lies before him, lit by the trembling candlelight, and every word strikes like a hammer on an anvil. He reads the lines again and again, trying to reach across the centuries to the woman who wrote them with a trembling hand. My dear ones, if you are reading this, then the truth has finally found its way. My name is Isabella Cantarini, and I write these words on the last night before my escape. Tomorrow, I will leave Venice forever, and I know my family will curse me, erase me from memory, call me a traitor. But I am not a traitor. I am saving the one I love. What follows is a story, at times fragmented, at times astonishingly precise. And as the candle burns low, the past begins to breathe even closer, gently preparing to reveal what has been hidden for so long. Isabella meets Tommaso Rizzo at a celebration in the Doge's palace. He is a scholar who has arrived from Padua, a man devoted to studying the stars, the human body, and the hidden laws of nature. He speaks of things that sound like heresy to many ears, that the earth moves around the sun, that illnesses are not sent as punishment for sins, but are caused by tiny living creatures, invisible to the naked eye. These ideas already attract attention. The church is watching him. The Inquisition is quietly gathering testimony. Isabella does not fall in love with his theories. She understands little of them. She falls in love with the fire that burns in his eyes when he speaks about the search for truth, about the courage to ask forbidden questions. They meet in secret among gardens at dusk, in libraries heavy with dust and silence, in secluded corners of the city where footsteps echo softly against stone. Her family is already searching for a husband for her, an old merchant, wealthy and influential, a safe match. But Isabella wants Tommaso. And then the Inquisition comes for him. A monk warns them a friend of Tommaso, risking his own life to do so. They have 2 days, only 2. Tommaso gathers his manuscripts, years of work, observations, calculations, drawings made by candlelight. Isabella steals gold from her family's treasury, enough to flee, to hide, to begin a new life far from Venice. We were married in secret in a small church outside the city, Isabella writes. A priest who performs the ceremony knows the risk, yet he believes in love more than in the laws of men. They become husband and wife before God, though no one living besides the priest bears witness. They leave at dawn. Isabella leaves her family a note short, vague, explaining nothing. She knows they will curse her. She knows that the portrait painted a year earlier for her wedding to the very merchant she never married will be destroyed or hidden away. Yet she hopes that one day the truth will surface. I hide this letter in the frame of my portrait, she writes. I hide Tommaso's manuscripts in a place where the Inquisition will not find them. If God grants us life, we will return for them. If not, let them be found by one who is worthy. The symbols on the portrait show the way. Only the wise will understand their meaning. She then describes the place in careful detail, as if afraid she herself might forget. A church of San Giacomo di Rialto, the oldest church in Venice. In the crypt beneath the altar, in the third niche on the right, behind the stone carved with the image of the Lamb, the instructions are precise, meticulous. At the end, the letter says, "We will have a daughter. I know it. I feel her beneath my heart. We will name her Eleonora, after Tommaso's mother. If you ever read this, find our descendants. Restore their good name. Tell them that Isabella Cantarini was not a traitor. She was a woman who chose love." Matteo sets the letter aside and runs his hands over his face. His eyes burn from exhaustion and from the candlelight. Outside, dawn is already breaking. A pale February morning pushes through the fog. Somewhere, bells ring, calling the faithful to morning mass. Isabella and Tommaso. Love stronger than fear of the Inquisition. Flight, a secret marriage, a daughter. What became of them? Did they survive? Or did the Inquisition catch up with them on some dusty road far from Venice? Matteo rises and goes to the window. He must act. The manuscripts, if they are truly hidden in the church of San Giacomo, may still be there. 100 years is a long time, But crypts do not change easily. Stones remain where they are laid. But first Julia, she is coming this evening. He promised to show her the portrait, to tell her about his discoveries. Now there is so much more to tell. Matteo washes his face with cold water from the pitcher, changes into a clean shirt, goes downstairs for bread. When he returns, he brews strong coffee, expensive, brought from the East, but today he needs its sharp clarity. Then he returns to the portrait. The work continues. The black paint retreats millimeter by millimeter, revealing what has been hidden. By noon, the first features of Isabella's face emerge. A high, clear forehead, a delicate line of brows. Matteo works with a racing heart. Every careful movement brings him closer to the woman who already feels almost familiar to him. In the 4th hour, Julia arrives. Matteo hears her steps on the stairs and opens the door before she can knock. She smiles, but the smile fades when she sees his face. "What happened? You look as if you haven't slept." "I haven't," Matteo admits. "I found something." "Come, I'll show you." He leads her to the portrait and gives her the letter to read. Julia reads in silence, and Matteo watches her expression change: surprise, compassion, quiet agitation. When she finishes, she looks up. This is incredible. She wasn't a traitor. She was a heroine. "Yes," Matteo says, "and now we must find the manuscripts. If they survived, they will prove her words. And we must find the descendants. She wrote of a daughter. If the daughter lived, there must be descendants somewhere." Julia thinks for a moment. "I know someone in Padua. He works with genealogy, helps people restore family histories. If Tommaso Rizzo is from Padua, he may find traces of his family. I'll write to him today." "Thank you." Matteo takes her hand and squeezes it. "Without you, I couldn't do this." Julia does not pull her hand away. They stand together, holding hands, looking at Isabella's portrait. Her face emerges from the darkness, like a ghost returning from oblivion. "We must go to the church," Julia says softly. "San Giacomo, tomorrow. I'll go with you." Matteo nods. He wants to go immediately, but it is already late. Church crypts are closed at night. They will have to wait until morning. They eat dinner together. Julia brings food from her home, simple but good. Vegetable soup, bread, cheese, wine. They eat slowly, talk about life, about dreams, about fears. Matteo admits his fear of remaining nobody, of dying an obscure restorer who left no trace behind. Julia confesses her fear of loneliness, of living surrounded by books and machines, but without human warmth. "You are not alone," Matteo says quietly. "Not anymore." Julia looks at him for a long moment, then leans forward and kisses him. Light, almost weightless, yet the kiss is like a flash of lightning, illuminating everything. Matteo responds, draws her closer. They kiss for a long time, forgetting time, the portrait, everything. When they part, Julia whispers, "I've wanted this for a long time." "So have I." She stays the night. There is no intimacy. It is too soon. Too much remains unspoken. They lie side by side on Matteo's narrow bed, holding each other, listening to the wind howl outside. Matteo feels the warmth of her body, the scent of her hair, and for the first time in many years, he does not feel alone. Morning comes cold but clear. They rise early, dress, drink hot coffee. Matteo slips Isabella's letter into his pocket and takes a lantern. The crypt will be dark. Julia puts on a warm cloak and a scarf. The church of San Giacomo di Rialto stands right by the market small, ancient, with a clock on its facade that always runs 5 minutes fast. Inside, it is empty. The early mass has ended. The next will be in 2 hours. An old, weary priest sits in the confessional, dozing. Matteo and Julia walk to the altar. To the side is a door leading down into the crypt. Matteo pushes it. Unlocked, they descend the stone steps. The air smells of dampness and something ancient, indefinable. The crypt is small. Niches line the walls, old tombstones here and there. Matteo raises the lantern and looks around. The third niche on the right. He approaches. On the stone sealing the niche is the image of a lamb, faded, almost worn away. Here, he breathes. The stone is heavy, but not fixed permanently. Matteo braces his shoulder and pushes. With a low grinding sound, the stone shifts aside. Behind it, a hollow. And inside the hollow, a wooden box, covered in leather. Matteo carefully pulls it out and sets it on the floor. His hands tremble. Julia stands beside him, holding the lantern. Matteo opens the lid. Inside, manuscripts. Stacks of yellowed pages filled with small handwriting. Drawings, anatomical sketches, maps of the starry sky, designs of unknown devices, calculations, formulas, observations. The life's work of Tommaso Rizzo, hidden by his beloved to save it from the fires of the Inquisition. And at the very bottom, another letter, short, 1 page. Matteo unfolds it and reads aloud. Isabella, my love, if you are reading this, then I did not return. The Inquisition found us. I will face death knowing that you and Eleonora are safe. I gave our daughter to the convent of Santa Chiara in Padua, under the name Eleonora Marine. The abbess knows the truth and will keep the secret. Protect her. Tell her about me when the time comes. I love you both. Tommaso. Silence. Only water drips somewhere steady, monotonous. Matteo folds the letter back and closes the box. He died, Julia says softly. The Inquisition executed him. Yes, Matteo replies. But the daughter survived. Eleonora Marine. That is a trail. We can find her descendants. They carry the box upstairs and ask the priest for permission to take it. The old man is surprised, but asks no questions. Monks are accustomed to secrets. Back in the workshop, Matteo and Julia spread the manuscripts across the table. Tommaso's work is extraordinary. Even Matteo, far from science, can see it. Drawings of the human heart, lungs, brain more precise than anything he has seen, even in modern medical books. Calculations of planetary motion far ahead of their time. Ideas for which people were burned at the stake. This must be published, Julia says. Given to the university. The world must know who Tommaso Rizzo truly was. Yes, Matteo agrees. But first, we find the descendants. We return their history to them. That is only fair. Julia nods, embraces him, presses close. They stand among the manuscripts and the portrait among the past, demanding its place in the present. February draws to a close, but winter does not retreat. Snow falls at night, rare for Venice. The city looks strange, almost unreal. White roofs, dusty canals, gondolas frozen at their moorings beneath caps of snow. Beautiful. And cold, very cold. Matteo stands at the workshop window, watching the snow-covered street, thinking about what has happened in recent weeks. Isabella's portrait is almost completely restored. Her face emerges from the darkness beautiful, sorrowful, with large dark eyes that seem to look straight into the soul. Tommaso's manuscripts lie carefully packed in their box. And Matteo himself, he no longer feels alone. Julia comes every day now. Sometimes she stays the night. Between them, something warm and real grows. But the main work is not yet finished. They must find the descendants. They must restore the truth. Padre Benedetta spends nearly 2 weeks in the church archives, turning old records, comparing dates, names, events. The Inquisition keeps meticulous documentation. Every case, every accusation, every sentence. At last, he finds what he is looking for. Matteo comes to the archive the very day he receives the note. The Padre sits at the table. Before him lies an open book bound in leather. The pages are yellowed, the ink faded, but the text is legible. Here, the priest says, pointing to a line. Tommaso Rizzo, scholar from Padua, accused of heresy-spreading heretical teachings, possession of forbidden books. Arrested in 1690, executed in 1691. 2 years between arrest and execution. 2 years of interrogations, pressure, attempts to force a recantation. They failed. Matteo clenches his fists. 2 years of suffering. And death. For what? For seeking truth. There is more, Padre Benedetto continues. Isabella Cantarini is mentioned here as well. She was sought for questioning as a witness, but she disappeared. The Inquisition concluded she fled out of fear, believing her to be an accomplice. And with those words, the weight of the past settles even heavier, yet the path forward begins to take shape, gently leading into what must come next. Her family formally renounced her to avoid suspicion. That decision saved them from persecution. So she survived, Matteo exhales softly, as if afraid to disturb the fragile truth. Otherwise, they would have found her. Perhaps, Padre Benedetto answers calmly, but there are no further traces. After 1690, her name no longer appears in any documents. Matteo tells the priest about Tommaso's letter, about the daughter, Eleonora, entrusted to the convent of Santa Chiara in Padua. Benedetto grows thoughtful. Santa Chiara. The monastery still exists. Its archives should remain intact records of novices, of nuns, of children raised behind cloistered walls. If the girl lived there, her name would be written down. How can I gain access to those archives? Matteo asks quietly. The priest smiles with gentle confidence. I will write to the abbess. We know each other. We studied together many years ago. She will help. Another week passes. Matteo continues working on the portrait. Isabella's face is now almost fully restored. He applies the final touches, stabilizing the paint, reviving the colors. The woman in the portrait is young no more than 25. Beautiful, but not with the distant coldness of aristocracy. In her eyes there is warmth, intelligence, resolve. Matteo finds himself drawn to that gaze. Not with romantic love, his heart belongs to Giulia, but with something deeper. Gratitude, reverence. Isabella has become more than a commission. She has become a calling. Meanwhile, Giulia receives a reply from her acquaintance. The genealogist in Padua, Signor Aldo Fortunato, proves meticulous, absorbed in his craft. He finds references to the Rizzo family ancient, once respected, later impoverished. Tommaso appears to be the last known member of the line. But if he had a daughter... In early March, a letter arrives from the convent of Santa Chiara. The abbess, Sister Benedetta, writes in careful detail. Yes, the archives record a girl named Eleonora Marine, accepted in 1690 age, 2 years. Parentage unknown, though the fee for her care was generous. She was raised in the convent until 16, then left and married a cloth merchant named Giovanni Moretti. After that, the records fall silent. Moretti, Matteo repeats softly, reading the letter aloud to Giulia. It's something, a common name, but if she married in Padua, the trail continues. Fortunato takes up the task with enthusiasm. Another letter arrives a week later. Eleonora Moretti, née Marine, bore 3 children. 2 died in infancy. 1 son, Marco, survived. He became a merchant as well, married, had children. The line continued. I have a name, Fortunato writes. Carlo Moretti, great-grandson of Eleonora. Lives in Padua. Owns a small cloth shop on Via San Francesco. 52 years old, married, 3 grown children. A respectable, unremarkable man. And yet, he is the direct descendant of Tommaso Rizzo and Isabella Cantarini. Matteo reads the letter 3 times. Carlo Moretti, an ordinary cloth merchant, unaware of the blood flowing in his veins. We must go to Padua, Matteo says. Tell him everything. Show him the manuscripts, the letters. He has the right to know. Giulia nods. I'll go with you. Together it's easier. But then the unexpected happens. The very next day, Lorenzo Cantarini arrives at the workshop. The old man looks pale, exhausted, leaning heavily on his cane. Matteo opens the door, and his heart tightens. He knows Cantarini is seriously ill. "Signor Venturi," the old man says, his voice hoarse and quiet. "Forgive me for coming unannounced, but I need to see the portrait now. I don't know how much time I have left." Matteo steps aside silently. Cantarini moves slowly toward the easel and stops. Isabella looks at him across a century. Alive, real, radiant, the old man stands motionless. Tears stream down his face. He does not wipe them away. He simply weeps. "My God," he whispers at last, "she is so young, so full of life." Matteo brings him a chair. Cantarini sits, eyes never leaving the portrait. Matteo lays the letters, the manuscripts, the genealogist's report on the table. "Read," he says quietly. "You must know the truth." Cantarini reads for a long time. He pauses often, closes his eyes, gathers strength. When he finishes, he looks up. "So she was not a traitor," he says softly. "She was a heroine. She saved the man she loved, saved his work, his legacy. And we erased her, cursed her, painted over her face." Matteo says nothing. Cantarini rises, approaches the portrait, touches the frame. "Have you found the descendants?" "Yes. Carlo Moretti, Padua, cloth merchant. Great-grandson of their daughter." The old man nods. "Good. You must meet him. Tell him everything. He is family. My family." Then he turns to Matteo. "You know Signor Venturi. I am also of this line. My grandfather told me something on his deathbed. I never knew whether to believe him." Matteo frowns. "What exactly?" "That Isabella was not a traitor. That the family always knew. Always. But stayed silent out of pride, out of fear of the Inquisition. It was easier to brand her a betrayer than to admit she saved a heretic. We carried this lie for 100 years. I swore not to break that silence." Matteo feels cold spread through his blood. "You knew?" "Not everything. Only fragments. That she fled with a persecuted scholar. That there was a child. Nothing more. I knew nothing of the letters, the manuscripts, the symbols. I hoped that if I found the right restorer, he would uncover the truth. That someone else would do what I could not." Silence fills the room. "You didn't hire me just to restore a portrait," Matteo says slowly. "You hired me to reveal a secret you were afraid to face." Cantarini lowers his head. "Yes, it was wrong. But I am tired of lying. I am the last. I have nothing left to lose but my conscience." Matteo wants to be angry, but he understands. The truth has emerged nonetheless. "What will you do now?" he asks. "Publicly restore Isabella's name. Publish her story. Donate Tommaso's manuscripts to the University of Padua. Place the portrait in the family chapel with a plaque bearing the truth. And meet Carlo Moretti, if he agrees, and acknowledge him as kin. He has the right to our legacy." Matteo nods slowly. "Then we go to Padua together. The journey begins at dawn, carrying with it not just people and objects, but the weight of centuries, moving steadily toward the moment when the past is finally ready to speak to the present, and gently invite the story onward. I want to restore Isabella's good name," Cantarini says quietly. "To place her portrait in the family chapel with a plaque that tells the truth. To transfer Tommaso's manuscripts to the university. And to recognize you as a rightful heir to part of the Cantarini estate. Legally, it is complicated, but I have already spoken with a notary. It can be done." Moretti looks at him for a long time. Then he nods slowly. "I agree, not for the money," he says evenly. "For them. For Isabella and Tommaso. They deserve to be remembered." Cantarini extends his hand. Moretti takes it. And in that handshake, across a century of silence, two branches of one family reconnect. They spend the rest of the day in Padua signing documents, meeting with the notary. Cantarini insists that part of his fortune, his palace in Venice, lands on the mainland, capital held in banks, will pass to Moretti after his death. The merchant resists, saying it is too much, but Cantarini is resolute. I have no children, no heirs. If not you, it will all go to the state or the church. I want it to remain in the family. In our family. By evening, Matteo and Giulia go for a walk through the city. Padua is old and beautiful, filled with students and traders. They move along narrow streets hand in hand, and Matteo feels an unfamiliar calm. The work is almost finished. The truth has been revealed, justice restored. What will you do next? Giulia asks softly. Matteo shrugs. I'll return to restoration. It's my work, my calling. And your own paintings? He smiles. Maybe now I'll have time for them. Cantarini paid generously. I don't have to think about money for a while. I can try painting what I want. Not for sale, for myself. Giulia stops and turns to him. And me? Am I part of your plans? Matteo looks into her eyes gray, intelligent, warm. You are the plan, he says quietly. If you want. If you agree. She smiles and embraces him. I agree. They return to the inn late. Cantarini is already asleep. Matteo and Giulia go up to their room, and for the first time, they share true closeness. Not hurried, not fiery, but gentle and trusting. They learn each other slowly, opening themselves without words. Later they lie in the dark, listening to the rain beyond the window, silent because nothing needs to be said. In the morning, they return to Venice. Cantarini looks better, as if a weight carried for years has finally lifted. He smiles, gazes out the carriage window, speaks of plans. I will organize an exhibition of the manuscripts at the university, he says. Invite scholars from across Europe. Let the world learn of Tommaso Rizzo. Let his name enter history. Matteo nods, listening only half attentively. His thoughts linger elsewhere, with the portrait of Isabella, with the woman who chose love and paid for it with a century of oblivion. But now she is remembered. Now she has returned. April comes to Venice with the scent of the sea and blooming gardens. Winter finally retreats, leaving behind only memories of cold and fog. The canals shimmer under the sun. Gondoliers sing again. Fruit and flower sellers fill the squares. The city awakens, stretches toward warmth. Matteo stands in his workshop, looking at the empty easel. Isabella's portrait was taken a week ago. Cantarini ordered it placed in the family chapel of Santa Maria Formosa. It now hangs in a place of honor, beneath it a marble plaque reading, Isabella Cantarini, 1668 to 1721. Beloved, wife, mother, heroine. Her name was forgotten unjustly. Today we return her honor. Matteo is not certain of the dates. Isabella's year of death was never found. But Cantarini insisted she lived a long life. I want to believe that, the old man said. Matteo understands. Sometimes faith matters more than facts. The workshop feels empty without the portrait. Matteo had grown used to Isabella's presence, to her gaze quietly judging or approving his every move. Now she is among candles and prayers, and that is right. Still, he misses her. Giulia brings morning coffee and fresh pastries. She enters without knocking. She has had a key for a month now, and it feels as natural as breathing. They live together unofficially, without announcements, but everyone in the neighborhood knows, and no one disapproves. Venice has seen everything. You're standing there again, being sad, Giulia says gently, setting the tray down. Enough. You have commissions. New paintings waiting to be saved. Matteo smiles faintly. I know. I just grew used to her. To Isabella. It feels strange working when she's not watching. Giulia comes up behind him and wraps her arms around him. She will always be watching, from memory, from the heart. You returned her to the world. That is forever. They drink coffee, eat pastries, plan the day. Julia has a large order printing a catalog for an auction. Matteo has restoration work on an old fresco in the church of Santi Giovanni e Paolo. Ordinary work, ordinary life. Yet now it is filled with a meaning that once eluded him. At noon, a messenger arrives from Cantarini. The old man asks Matteo and Julia to come to the palace. Urgently. Something important. Matteo frowns. Cantarini's health has been failing rapidly. In recent weeks, he has barely left the house. Doctors shake their heads, prescribe useless remedies. Everyone understands it is only a matter of time. They arrive at 3. The Cantarini Palace stands on the Grand Canal Majestic, old, filled with ghosts of the past. A servant leads them to a study on the 2nd floor. Cantarini sits by the window, wrapped in a blanket despite the warmth. His face is gaunt, eyes sunken, but the same fire still burns within them. Matteo, Julia, he says softly, thank you for coming. I needed to see you. There is something I must tell you, while I still can. They sit opposite him. Matteo feels unease. Something in Cantarini's tone unsettles him. The old man coughs, takes a sip of water. I lied to you, he says quietly. Not entirely, but I did not tell you the whole truth. You remember I said my grandfather told me on his deathbed that Isabella was not a traitor, that the family always knew. Matteo nods. He remembers. That is true, Cantarini continues. But he told me much more. He closes his eyes, gathering strength. He said he knew where the manuscripts were hidden. He knew about the compartment in the frame. He knew everything. Matteo freezes. That the family always knew. Isabella left not only a letter in the frame. She sent another to the brother of my great-great-grandfather, the only one who did not immediately renounce her. A letter explaining everything, asking that the secret be kept until danger passed. The Inquisition watched the family. Any open admission of connection to a heretic would have destroyed us all. Julia exhales sharply. So the family knew the truth all along. Yes, for 100 years, at first from fear. The Inquisition was powerful, merciless, later from pride. It was easier to call Isabella a traitor than to admit the family's cowardice. The lie became more comfortable than the truth. Each generation swore the next to keep the secret. Matteo feels anger rise within him. You knew from the beginning. When you came to me, you already knew what I would find. Cantarini opens his eyes. Pain fills his gaze. Yes, I knew about the hiding place, the symbols. My grandfather explained their meaning, but I could not reveal the secret myself. I swore on the Bible, on the memory of my ancestors. Then why? Matteo paces the room. Why hire me? Why this charade? Because I was tired, Cantarini says softly. Tired of lying. Tired of carrying the burden of others' sins. I am the last of the line. When I die, the truth dies with me unless someone else uncovers it. He pauses. I could not break my oath, but I could create conditions for the truth to emerge without me. Hire a gifted restorer. Hope he would notice the symbols, decipher them, open the hiding place. Hope he would be stubborn and honest enough to reach the core. Matteo stops and looks at him. Anger wrestles with understanding. You used me, manipulated me. Yes, Cantarini admits. And I am sorry. It was dishonorable, but I saw no other way. The oath bound me. My conscience gave me no peace. Julia steps forward, takes Matteo's hand. But the truth came out, she says gently. Isabella is rehabilitated. Her descendants are found. Tommaso's manuscripts are preserved. Isn't that more important than how we arrived here? Matteo remains silent. Reason tells him she is right. Emotion still rebels. Cantarini rises with effort, places a trembling hand on Matteo's shoulder. I understand your anger. You have the right. But know this, I chose you deliberately. I asked about restorers. I searched for someone who was not only skilled, but human. Someone who would not stop at the surface. He smiles faintly. I saw your paintings. They are sincere. I knew you were the one. Matteo steps back, freeing himself from the touch. What do you want from me now? Understanding. Cantarini answers simply. Not forgiveness. I do not deserve it. Only understanding that I did the only thing I could. I am weak, Matteo. I always was. Not a hero like Isabella or Tommaso. Just an old man crushed by the past. You are stronger than I am. And his voice softens further. You did what I could not. The room grows quiet again, and in that silence the story pauses, ready to drift gently forward, toward its final unfolding. A heavy silence hangs in the air. Matteo looks out the window, at the canal, at the gondolas slowly gliding past, their movement unhurried, almost ceremonial. He thinks. Giulia remains quiet, gently giving him the space he needs. The water reflects light. Time seems to soften, stretch. Finally, he turns toward them. All right, I understand. I don't approve, but I understand. He pauses. The truth is revealed. That is what matters most. As for the rest, let history be the judge. Cantarini nods, releasing a long, relieved breath. Thank you. He returns to his chair and lowers himself into it, suddenly looking older, lighter, as if something unseen has loosened its grip. There is one more thing. I have rewritten my will. Half of my estate will go to Carlo Moretti and his family. That is only fair. But a quarter, I leave to you, Matteo. Matteo startles. What? No, I can't accept that. You can, and you will, Cantarini says softly. You restored the honor of my family. You returned Isabella's name to the world. That has no price. Money is nothing compared to this. But you are young, gifted. You deserve the chance to paint without worrying about bread, to create art, not only to save it. Matteo wants to protest, but Giulia squeezes his hand. Accept it, she says quietly. He's right. You've earned it. Cantarini smiles faintly. The remaining quarter will go to the church and the university for scholarships for young artists and scholars. Let the memory of Isabella and Tommaso live not only in portraits and manuscripts, but in living deeds. They stay with Cantarini until evening. The old man tells stories about his family, about Venice, about the past. He speaks slowly, with pauses, but with warmth and focus, as if carefully passing on everything he knows while strength still allows it. When Matteo and Giulia are about to leave, Cantarini stops them at the threshold. Be happy. Love one another. That is all that truly matters. Isabella and Tommaso knew this. Now you do as well. They step out into the warm April night. Venice glows with lights, smells of the sea, and blooming jasmine. Matteo wraps his arms around Giulia, and they walk in silence all the way back to the workshop. 2 weeks later, Lorenzo Cantarini dies, quietly in his sleep, just as he wished. At the funeral, half of the Venetian nobility gathers, but Matteo and Giulia stand apart among ordinary people. Carlo Moretti arrives from Padua with his family. He cries, though he knew Cantarini only a month, not for the old man alone, but for everything, for what was lost and for what was finally found. Isabella's portrait remains in the chapel. People come to see it. They read the plaque. They whisper. The story spreads through the city, gaining details, slowly turning into legend. Tommaso's manuscripts are exhibited at the University of Padua. Scholars study them, admire them, call him a genius. The name Rizzo begins to appear in academic works alongside Galileo and other great minds of the age, a quiet correction of history. Matteo returns to the easel, but now he paints not for sale. He paints for himself. Portraits, landscapes, scenes of everyday life. Giulia poses for him, sitting by the window with a book, standing at the printing press, sleeping at dawn. He paints her again and again, unable to stop. "You're turning me into Isabella," she laughs. "Creating your own legend." "You are a legend?" he answers softly. "Mine." Spring turns into summer. Matteo organizes a small exhibition of his works, not in an aristocratic palace, but in a modest gallery in Dorsoduro. Few people come, but those who do linger, looking closely, attentively. He sells 3 paintings. Not much, but it is a beginning. Julia publishes a book about Isabella and Tommaso, gathering all the documents, letters, and testimonies. 300 copies. The entire print run sells out within a month. People want to know the truth. They want to believe that love is stronger than fear. One evening, as summer leans toward autumn, Matteo and Julia sit on the roof of his workshop, watching the sunset over the lagoon. The sky burns with gold and crimson. The water mirrors the colors. The city grows quiet. "You know," Julia says softly, "I think Isabella would be glad that her story didn't die." "That someone heard it," Matteo nods. "I think so too. And Tommaso. His work is recognized now. His name is remembered." They fall silent. Then Julia adds quietly, "And Contarini, do you think he found peace?" Matteo thinks of the old man, his tired eyes, trembling hands, his manipulations, his lies, his weakness, but also his desperate attempt to correct the mistakes of his ancestors. "I hope so," he says. "He did what he could, not perfectly, not honestly all the way, but he did it." Julia rests her head on his shoulder. "We all do what we can. That's all that's asked of us." The sun sinks below the horizon. Night comes warm, star-filled. Somewhere below, a gondolier begins to sing. His voice drifts over the water, sad and beautiful. Matteo holds Julia closer and thinks of Isabella watching from the chapel across the centuries, of Tommaso, whose manuscripts will outlive time, of Cantarini, finally freed from the weight of lies, and of himself, an artist who has become something more than a restorer. He did not save a painting. He saved memory, truth, love,